This is the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Village of Vernon Hills. We need to start with a roll call.
Chairman Morris.
Here.
Commissioner Blue.
Present.
Commissioner Cotton.
Here.
Commissioner Hesder.
Here.
Commissioner Heidner.
Here.
Commissioner Mulcrone. Commissioner Grog.
Here. Okay. This evening we have a public hearing which is consideration of case 14-04, a petition filed requesting approval of a special use permit to allow development of a multi-tenant building which will include a restaurant and drive-through. Approval as part of the special use, certain variations including setbacks, signage, parking, loading, preliminary and final site and landscaping plan approval, and preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations. This property is located at 447 North Milwaukee in the Marketplace Shopping Center. It is currently zoned B1 General Business District, and in fact is the former Tilted Kilt. Who's going to speak on behalf of the petitioner this evening?
That would be myself. My name is Dan Engspat from Shorewood Development Group. I'm the civil engineer of record of the project.
Okay, it appears that you brought either a group of friends or admirers. Are any of them going to speak this evening as well?
I brought a group of our design team and our team
Okay.
that may be answering some questions, any specific questions that
Whoever
you may
may
have.
answer, we ask you to come forward, identify yourself, then we'll swear everybody in at once. Okay, why don't you tell us who you are?
Louis Schreiber, Shorewood Development Group, address of 2150 East Lake Cook Road, Suite 820, Buffalo Grove, Illinois.
Lucian Lang, Raytan Architects, Schaumburg on Wiley Road.
Dennis Gerard, landscape architect with Greenberg Farrow.
Okay, we'd ask you then to raise your right hand and swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this commission of the Village of Vernon Hills shall be the truth.
I do.
Okay. The primary rule we have here this evening is that whenever you speak, even if you want to look at a picture on a board, is you either talk from the stationary microphone or you take one of the ones that are not tethered and bring it with you, because all this is being televised and it needs to be recorded. Okay. With that, Mr. Engspat, you are on.
Thank you. I just want to do a quick introduction of the proposed project and then open it up to questions, any specific questions that you may or may have. First of all, I just want to start with the existing property. As you guys mentioned, it's at 447 North Milwaukee. It's in the Marketplace at Vernon Hills Shopping Center. Just a quick history of the project, in 1994, the Max and Irmas came and constructed the building that you see today. In 2011, the Tilted Kilt restaurant came into business. They reused the existing space. I think some of the only improvements they made was to add a additional grease trap on there. This picture was taken, I believe it was last week. By looking at the picture, it depicts a site that is about 20 years old. The parking lot can use some repair. You guys see in the picture that there's some pounding water out there, and there's walking the site, there's some damaged curbs. And basically it's an older site. In our opinion, it's due for a remodel. What we propose to do is demolish that entire building and construct a new two-tenant commercial building. It's about 8,081 square feet. The tenants of the building on the southern side, on the larger tenant, is Panera Bread, and they're the tenants with the drive-through. And on the northern tenant will be American Mattress. Per code, there's 68 parking spaces required for Panera Bread and 19 parking spaces required for the American Mattress. With this redevelopment, we proposed exactly 87 spaces. I believe in the memo it said 88, but we proposed 87. We did lose additional space to help with the turning radiuses and attempting just to have a better configuration of the parking lot. Some of the items that I just want to highlight with this redevelopment is we are completely upgrading all of the ADA stalls, all of the ADA accessible routes, just to make a clean and free, safe passageway to and from the parking stalls to the front entrance. Another improvement that we're making is we are improving the stormwater quality management of the site. By doing that, we are basically just increasing the green area of the site. Existing right now, it's about 23% of the green area. With our proposed development, we're increasing that green area to 26% of the development. It'll slow down the water a bit and be a slight improvement of the stormwater. Another thing that we're doing is we're remediating the entire parking lot. In doing the parking lot, we're improving the structural integrity of the parking lot. We're actually regrading some of the parking lot to have a more of a positive stormwater flow into the structures, so you won't see any of those ponding water areas that you saw in the existing picture. An additional upgrade that we're doing is that we're changing all of the existing light poles. I believe the existing light poles were built back in 1995. They're the high-pressure sodium lights. They kind of give the yellow hue around them. With recommendations from the village manager and from ourselves, we're replacing all of the fixtures and replacing them with LED lighting, just to give a clean, energy-efficient lighting. It'll be a nice white illumination, a uniform illumination over our new parking lot. In working with Lake County Public Works, they mentioned to me that in the surrounding areas, they had some problems with some overflowed grease traps within the area, not within our site, but just within the area. In what we've done is, per code, the size of the grease trap should be 1,000 gallons. And working with the Lake County Public Works, we decided to upsize it just for a precautionary method. We're adding a downstream manhole immediately downstream of the grease interceptor for us as owners and as well as Lake County Public Works to ensure that this new development won't generate any of those downstream sanitary sewer problems. Some of the engineering for the sanitary sewer is that we're replacing all of the existing sanitary sewer lines and bringing all new services to the trunk line. So it should be a nice, secure, safe sewage flow. Some of the other improvements that you guys can see through our renderings and see through the different sides are the improvement of landscaping. Our main focus of landscaping was around the building, as well as mainly on the west side, which is the Milwaukee Avenue side. What that leads me to do is to talk about our special use permit, which is the drive-through. The drive-through basically enters in from the north over here. Our ordering window is over here. We have 10 cars stacking within the drive-through lane. We went to the committee of the whole meeting, and they had some concerns about the drive-through traffic crossing the front of the building. So in order to address their concerns, we've reworked the curbing that exits the drive-through to angle it towards the south to attempt to direct the exiting drive-through traffic to the less intense eastern drive. To also make those improvements, we put a stop sign to stop the traffic, one, because there's a crosswalk, but two, just to help them see that we put also a no left turn sign so that they can avoid that traffic through the front entrance. In addition, we put pavement striping, a right turn only pavement striping. So the idea is the drive-through traffic comes in through the north, and comes through, goes south, and then exits towards the eastern entrance. A lot of the main focus in working with staff was the western side, where one of the major concerns was screening the drive-through. In screening the drive-through and how we address that issue is we were creative with the grading plan, and we built up a 3-foot high berm, and we put a mixture of landscaping to assist with the screening of the drive-through, and our rendering depicts that screening. We're asking for, I believe it's 4 variances, but I believe one of the variants takes an explanation, and that is the building signage variance. Per code, you're allowed to have building signage whichever elevation has frontage, a road frontage. So the northern elevation and the eastern elevation are technically allowed to have building signage. What we're asking in the variance is to have signage on the western elevation, and it's strongly to do with the high traffic of Milwaukee Avenue. The reason we created this slide is we have a parcel. It's, our lot is parcel 1. This lot over here is parcel 2, and as you can see, these are both outlots of the shopping center, but parcel 2 contains the detention pond, as well as the green area through here. There is overland flow route drainage swale that is protected. It's within the easement as well. The reason I'm mentioning those two stuff is that it's highly unlikely that anything could ever be built within that sliver right here. This point, between this point and the right-of-way is 60 feet. It's 60 feet. So what we're doing in the building code, whichever side you're allowed signage on, you're allowed one of the sides to have the maximum allowable signage on a 1-to-1 basis of the frontage of the storefront. The remaining sides can only be 50% of the store frontage linear footage. So what we're proposing here, due to the high visibility of Milwaukee Avenue, we're proposing to have the larger allowable sign to code on the western side using the 1-to-1 ratio, nothing more than what the code would allow if that was considered a true frontage. The northern side and the eastern side are both going to adhere to code to be the 50% rule. So we could see the larger sign on the western elevations, and then on the eastern they're slightly smaller but adhering to the code. Lastly, I just want to talk about the building and the building materials. During our committee of the whole meeting, it was a concern of the trustees about the look of our building. What they required us to do was not go back to the drawing board, but to take a close look at the building materials and some of the features of the site to make it look like an attractive building. One of the things that we made an improvement on was the 360-degree architecture on all sides, as you can see through the renderings. Here's the technical rear of the building versus the front. The facade has some variations, interesting variations that has the stone material, some ins and outs, so to speak, of the building that you can depict of stone. We also have some recessed lighting on the sides of the building where at nighttime I think it would look real good where the light will basically highlight that stone strictly as a decorative item. Some of the building materials that we used, we upgraded our building to be entirely of brick. There's 2 different tones of brick color. We have the stone material, and working with Panera and our own architect, and as well as the building commissioner, we upgraded the Panera to try to make them stick out a little bit, to have this high-tech wood tile. So we have it on the eastern elevation, on the southern elevation, as well as the western elevation. It's depicted on the material board over there, as well as all the awnings that we've selected. That concludes my brief presentation, but any specific questions that the commissioner members may have, we'll be able to answer them.
Could you put up the west side again? there a door on the Panera building right there?
There is a door. That's their service door where they're going to take in their deliveries and their bread. And I believe it's for selected for one of their accessible routes as well for the internal building.
And what type of delivery trucks do
They have the larger 60-foot trucks come into the site to make their bread deliveries. If we go to the site plan, we were required to increase this radius in order for those large trucks to get in and out of the site. So they'd be making their deliveries clean and free through the site, not affecting any parked cars. They do was
I think
in.
you lost me. Why is the door on the west side if you're...
There's those are for the bigger deliveries. They also have the smaller bread trucks. This area right here is where they anticipate to bring in their daily bread through the rear of the building to avoid the front entrances, I guess, customers, and keep their bread deliveries basically through this sidewalk, through the back door, through the rear of the building.
And there's nothing on the drive-through that would interfere with those trucks?
Not through the drive-through. We've changed our route as indicated through this path over here. Originally, we had it going north and south. Oops. We had it going north and south, and we thought it was a hazard for pedestrians, potentially going south, driving that corner of potentially not seeing the deliveries.
And you have an awning over that doorway as well?
We did have an awning over the door. That awning is Panera's new awning style. I think they reinvented it this year, and they plan on rolling this awning style to all of their new stores.
And it looks like there's like a half wall there. Is that on, looks like it's on the building side of the drive.
Is this material right here that you're mentioning?
Right.
For over there is their assistance with their deliveries in their bread carts. They said they do have some bread carts to trolleys from unloading the bread truck to the back of the building.
So they would be stored back there?
It would be stored back there. Not seen, that's why the height was determined at the height it was.
And you're going to have outdoor seating?
There is going to be outdoor seating for the Panera Bread. It is going to be, I believe it's 38 outdoor seating, seats for the outdoor patio. And that's within here.
Can you go to the slide that had parcel 1 and parcel 2?
Mm-hmm.
You really never could build anything on parcel 2, could you? So is it owned with, I'm just curious, is it owned with parcel 1, or is there some possibility something could be developed there?
It's not through parcel 1. I believe it's another outlet of the overall shopping center.
Okay.
In my opinion, it could never be developed because it's such an essential part of the stormwater management.
And looking at the signage on the north side of the building, are you going to have any, if you could go back where you were,
Okay.
the one with parcel 1 and parcel 2.
Oh, okay.
Are you going to have any monument signs at the entrance of the north side?
We are.
And that's fine, but that leads me to the question then, why would you need signage on the north side of the building? I mean, I can see the visibility on Milwaukee. I can see the visibility on the inner ring road, if that's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a monument sign there, you really wouldn't need it on the building, which would then bring you to compliance with the zoning.
On the site that you see, the building signage sits up high. This depicts it pretty good. All along, there's the landscaping, and there's some parkway trees all along through here. So our idea for the building signage is just to be another visible source including the monument sign on that north side.
I guess my thought is if you're on the north side driving, you've already decided that you're going to a destination. I can see on Milwaukee, I can see on the shopping center side, they may come out of Bed Bath & Beyond and go, oh, there's a Panera. But on the north side, again, just trying to keep it signage on just two sides versus three.
Yeah.
It's a thought.
I think what we did is just seeing that it's allowed by code, and then it's more than likely the tenants, everybody likes their additional signage for just building attractiveness. I guess when you kind of look at the north side alone with the monument sign, it's just an extra attraction for the tenants.
So the only thing on the north side is going to be American Mattress?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct. The building splits where Panera only has views on the west, south, and east side, and then Mattress is east, west, and north side.
I think there's the capturing of the north traffic.
Some of the idea for the signage or the monument sign is to capture some of the northern traffic that's coming from Milwaukee Avenue, excuse me, it's the traffic coming from the north going southbound, and then when they turn into the magazine, they may not be able to see the Panera bread. So that's the reason we're proposing a two-tenant monument sign, so they can see both Panera and American Mattress.
Aren't there vacancies on the main development sign?
But we don't have rights to those signs.
Oh, really?
Can we go back to the drive-through?
Yep.
Two issues. One, it looks like it's single car width,
Correct.
so once you're in line, you're committed?
Correct. We originally proposed a bypass lane, and it was looked that we should convert it to a single lane.
And then you talked about deliveries back there. I mean, is a truck going to park there to unload?
The truck will never go through the drive-through, but our designated loading area, which is one of our variances, is within this southern field right here. In working with staff, what we're working with Panera management is to have their employees parked as close as possible to the shortened loading zone area in order for this loading zone area to be increased more to code compliance.
So you're going to have the trucks dump their loads right there, and then they follow that little sidewalk, which is on the outside of the drive?
Correct.
And then they're going to cross?
Correct. Panera originally wanted the quickest shot to the door, but we decided to protect life safety in lieu of the shortest route.
And how long do you think that's going to last?
Hopefully it's enforced, and as far as
Okay.
but the one thing that it could force them to last is that they have to hop a curb over there. So, you know, with their heavy dollies, maybe we force them to use the ramps.
Okay. And no concern about stacking people in 10 deep and not being able to change your mind?
We thought about that too, but they said it wasn't supportive to do the bypass lane. Our original proposed plan on the conceptual stage had a bypass lane. So
Who said that?
Who was they?
Yeah.
we worked with the village staff early on, before Joe's time with
So-
Mr. Carey, or excuse me, Mr. Kalmars and
So the
David
village
Brown.
thought there shouldn't be a bypass lane.
Shouldn't be a bypass lane.
I would think there should be a bypass
I-
lane,
yep.
especially with a drive-through of this length.
Yep.
Just a thought. I don't know, what do you, I mean, I think it's a good point that you brought up, Jim.
I mean, you could have an emergency and you're stuck.
Right. In the site plan that we propose, it's a completely different layout. It affects the building, the size of the building, and how it pushes out. So at the early on stages when we had that initial conceptual preliminary meeting, they changed our tune and we went with this direction under staff support.
I would not be in favor of a drive-through this size, only being a one-vehicle drive-through, a one-lane.
What is the stacking in the drive-through?
The stacking on the drive-through is 10 car stacking, so it's adequate for a stacking lane. Once you are in there, you are in there, though.
Let's ask another question, assuming that no one breaks down when they're in there or has a family emergency. If the person gets to the window and their order isn't ready, will you send them to designated waiting spots in the parking lot to keep things moving along?
I would believe so, and what Panera was discussing is their waiting spots would be the closest spots right here in order for them to come out of the building and safely cross through that accessible route.
Well, and you know, when you look at it, Portillo's only has one lane, but it's not this length. I mean, they once you get to the, they've got outs, but there are times when it's one. But as long as, if somebody's order is taking time, they can move them out. But I'm still not nuts about that length just being one.
And a lot of the going back and forth is we were required to increase the length to have additional stacking. That was some of the technical comments we were working through to increase that length.
So I guess my question is for staff then, is why did you feel that was, I guess, not okay, but you wanted to get rid of the bypass lane?
That was before Joe's time, too.
Well, I mean, I'm staff, so I
yeah,
still
yeah,
get to answer. You know, my understanding of this was with the single drive-through lane is having a dual lane, kind of an exit route, if you will, would have materially changed the site layout, which wouldn't have either reducing the size of the building, which then would have made it very difficult to actually construct in the existing layout, and that under technical review comments, the feeling was that the way this layout was configured, there'd be an understanding of someone entering into that single lane drive-through, they'd be entering knowing you're entering the drive-through lane, and there would not be a need for an...
You're committed, is what you're saying. When you enter it, you're committed to it.
Yes.
And in working with the configuration and the layout, the signage plans show all the directional signage prior to you entering the point of no return, so to speak. So what we did is our original technical review, we didn't do anything. We left all the existing parking spaces alone within this area, and we reconfigured it just in case you have that one user who is about to enter the drive-through and changes his mind, so he has an opportunity to get into this small hammerhead and turn around to not make that commitment.
I guess I could live with the first half being single lane, but I think once you get down to that elbow, is there a possibility to widen it to 2 lanes from
Or
there?
create an out, right?
To create an out.
That's what...
In any additional...
Because it looks like you have room to move the parking. You could move the parking down a little.
In any additional pavement or reconfiguration, we wouldn't be able to meet the parking required. We're right on the dot of it right now.
Well, actually, speaking of the parking required, if you're designating 2 or 3 spaces as, drive-through, a holdover, then you're already not within, because those 3 spaces are relatively close to the door compared to many of the other spaces. So those will fill if they're not signed to be reserved drive-through.
Yeah. And
so were those 2 or 3 spaces counted in your 88 spaces?
they were counted in the 87 spaces.
87?
The signage package that we showed, we did have some Panera-related signage on those 3 signs as well to designate those spaces as, so to speak, reserved for Panera. I believe it's on the signage package. I don't have the screen with me.
So those would be the rapid pickup signs?
Correct.
Okay, I wasn't familiar with that that phrase, and I thought that's something you do an internet order or a call-in order, and they deliver it to you or something, or it's a 5-minute quick in and out. That's how I interpreted it.
I believe how Panera interprets it is just a space where the parked cars would be rapidly in and out, not a long, maybe lunch or dinner, sitting over there. Their idea was to have that rapid transfer of parking out of there.
So that could be a carryout, ultimately, or someone that called in and, was ordering 2 dozen bagels for the morning, or whatever.
Correct, correct.
Where is the order going to be taking place along the western elevation?
Along the western elevation,
It's right there.
we have a preview board and then the ordering menu right here. So once you hit this concrete or prior to that elbow you have ordered already. You have ordered already. So at that point, hopefully the customer is committed.
Well, no, they are.
Yeah, yeah.
That the south elevation is where the order is being paid. Is that
The order being paid at this area right here.
okay?
Did Panera give you an idea of how long the average drive-through order takes?
I don't have that, how long it takes, but what they did provide me is their parking studies and their traffic studies of other drive-through restaurants that are built already. I believe it was they used their ITE study, which the parking required for a drive-through is less than what's required than what we're proposing. I know they feel strong about their drive-through, that it's been a successful program for the drive-throughs that they have built.
Have they given you an indication, are they able to actually timely, from time of the order is placed to getting to the window, have the product ready? Or if you think of Culver's, I don't know if you've ever seen Culver's drive-through, it's very common that you actually go there, pay, and then you go wait. I mean, they move you out of the drive-through because they make everything,
Right.
which
And-
Panera does too.
Panera's
Versus,
only comment on that it's been a successful program where they haven't had any traffic concerns with backed up traffic, so.
well,
If you, I can elaborate a little bit more on Panera's success with this drive-through. And what they're trying to do is increase their day parts, their day parts and their sales to mornings and late nights. So this drive-through is really utilized for the bagels, the breakfast sandwiches, the coffee, the everything else, not the rush of lunch coming in and building sandwiches. I do know that that this is a relatively new within two to 3 years for Panera, and they do prefer and have not had problems with the single drive-through. Most of their stores are with a single drive-through, and I think in short order we can get those time. We have them. We don't have them here with us, and so I don't want to guess. But we do a lot of work with Potbelly's as well. They also do drive-throughs now. They do single lanes. We have one in Schaumburg right now. It looks almost exactly like this. It's a single drive-through. Potbelly has a longer order time, and they have zero problems going through with that. And that's all I can add as a perspective of that.
there's no doubt this is a much better location for Panera than where they are now. I mean, just from every aspect. Easier to get into, better visibility. So it's a good location for them.
Mm-hmm.
Is Panera the economic engine that drives this development?
Yes.
Because the reason I ask, I don't have a problem with Panera, and I agree with the comments that this is probably a better location for a restaurant. But the other retail user that you're kind of putting this building and showing us for, I have a difficult time really accepting that the village really needs 3 mattress stores, 2 furniture stores, and a warehouse club, all effectively within the same parking lot to sell mattresses. So I'm not quite sure this is a well kind of fitted together set of uses, number one. Number two, I'm a little bit concerned that what advantages this site has, you've kind of taken away. And what I mean by that is you're forcing people that exit the site to exit to the east, which is certainly not the easiest route to get out. You're not going to wind your way out. So I don't know whether there's really any true problems there typically, but it's certainly not like waiting at 60 and 21 to turn. So the write out on the North Magazine seems to me to be making it difficult for people unnecessarily. It also seems to me that the out from the drive-through, putting aside whether 1 or 2 or 15 lanes is appropriate, is that we're going to turn them out pretty much, you said now, at the same time that they're going to have early morning deliveries when people are trying to pick up coffee and bagels. And if they wait, they're going to now contend with the trucks. And that's where the trucks are going to turn around. So I don't think we've really fully figured out without a dedicated loading area where to put it. And then most importantly, I look at the picture, and it looks all wonderful here and bright, but the reality is that outdoor seating area is going to face not an interesting place where lots of people walk by, but a parking lot. Whereas on the other side, there's a pond, putting aside whether it's been nicely landscaped, but it could be that you could have views of, kind of akin to what we did at 21 and 45, where Beer Market is, and Tom and Eddie's. They don't put their outdoor seating facing the parking lot, they face an amenity. You've oriented this that the restaurant that would have that amenity doesn't see it. So I'm not really understanding why this site plan looks this way, other than, and I understand this is an economic reality, that things just fit. And therefore, to say that this is something that I think should go ahead this way, I'm having some difficulties. Now, that's really not a very good question to ask. It's more of a comment, but I'm interested in your views developing this, why, A, we made things harder for people, and B, what amenities they have there in terms of sight lines and view we didn't take advantage of from the restaurant. Instead, we gave it to the mattress store.
Okay. I think we'll answer that in 2 parts as well. I would like to present or answer the American mattress concern. When we looked at this, we ideally looked at it for 2 restaurants. 2 restaurants was not going to be allowed by staff, and the parking and staff, they wanted one, they felt it was going to be too busy. 2 is this is what we do. We build the multi-tenants with restaurants. So the second counter to that is while we would have liked the restaurant, it would have been more economically viable for us. The American mattress does fit well with us because of the success of Panera and the parking and everything else. It did fit well with us. I'm just only going to touch, I'll let Dan touch on the access on the north and shifting the access south to head out the east. What I can comment on as far as, taking advantage of the pond and people sitting out in a patio, we've owned this since 2010. There's been 2 restaurants that have taken advantage of that and gone out of business quickly. The other thing is the beer market, and we office here, we office right down the street. The beer market, and while that's a nice amenity and it works well, it's mostly taken advantage of at night when the beer market's there and stuff like that. When the peak hour for Panera is during lunch. It takes care, the peak takes advantage of the office population. They have to get in here, whether it goes through drive-through, pick up internet orders, catering, or when they do sit down and they sit down outside, and that's where they sit. I'll let you address the technical issues on the north and why we're shifting down. The last thing I want to explain or answer is these deliveries are happening off hours. So in the morning when we're shifting the traffic to the south and worried about conflicts with delivery, their bread and everything else is being delivered prior to opening of the store. And I'll let Dan speak to more of the, unless, let me open up for questions off of my answers.
Yeah, I have a problem with that statement, because the expression is who you bring to the dance you have to sit with. And we heard that Panera didn't want to deliver in the front because that would conflict with customers. And now you're telling me that that's really not a concern. So if that's not a concern, what do we need this rear thing for at all?
Well,
you told us earlier that the delivery is this way because they did not want deliveries through the front that customers are using? Is there be conflicts? And now I'm hearing that there are no conflicts. It's not open for customers. So
Well, one
which
is it,
Which is it?
The direction of the traffic was to avoid the drive-through traffic from entering the front of the building.
No, but we heard earlier that the trucks, you didn't want anybody going through the front for deliveries to conflict.
but no retailer wants any of their deliveries going through the front because it's dragging through their tile floors, their kitchen, or not their kitchen, their seating area, their eating area.
So it's got nothing to do with customers.
It
It's got to be one way or the other. I mean,
Well-
but that's neither here nor there.
I
Let's
guess
go back to your American Mattress comment. I appreciate that it fits, but how does it fit with this user? Other than to say that they're, quite candidly, it's not going to have early morning business or probably midday business, have late at night business. So that's nice for parking. But other than that, how does it fit? How is it synergistic at all? How does it benefit the village? How does this kind of special use with these two particular users at this location help?
well,
And that's what I'm having trouble
yeah,
understanding.
I think I would like to point out the existing building, the existing success of a standalone restaurant right now. This creates traffic. American Mattress wants to be next to traffic. It increases their sales. The American Mattress sales, they do some significant sales out of there. So the benefit is we're bringing over a Panera that their lease has expired. I believe their sales are in the 2 million, 2+ there. They're coming here, they're expecting a 35% increase in sales. And American Mattress's average sales are 1.1 million. So what we're bringing is, an upgrade to the overall site, as Dan went through, and a economically feasible long-term solution to this what we believe is a spectacular site that has had, quite frankly, has had trouble sustaining business in for a restaurant.
Okay, currently American Mattress is in Mundelein, is that correct? And that one would be relocating here?
Correct.
Okay. What is that store sales? Is that 1.1 million?
Their average is 1.1. I don't know what Mundelein store sales are. I'm not a representative of American Mattress.
Okay, because I believe that one is significantly less than the average. And I counted, just off the top of my head, 14 stores in Vernon Hills that either primarily sell mattresses or sell mattresses in addition to other things. 14 stores. I might be missing some. I don't know that this use is a good use to have yet another mattress store in Vernon Hills.
I don't have a comment to that other than there's a demand. Retailers follow demand. I don't know how 14 stores, if we go to Schaumburg or similar municipalities, where those stores are, or, the store count is.
I mean, I can actually name them.
And then in our preliminary committee of the whole meeting, the tenants did come up, and with the trustees, they were supportive of the American Mattress.
Scott?
This site's a jigsaw puzzle, and I'm sure you worked on it a long time to get it to fit. The things that are controlling here are the amount of parking spaces and the drive-up. And the drive-up, where you have it, is just about the only place where you can have it and get any kind of stack requirement.
Correct.
With that, the things that I struggle with that are really resolvable are how you get into the drive-up and how you get out of it.
Okay.
Getting into it, and I I did think about what you said about somebody maybe making a last-minute decision and bailing at the entrance and turning it around, and that end piece there. But I'm not sure the 2 parking spaces that are before that on the left are viable.
The ones right here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if those are viable. Maybe they could be moved and linked to the other 2, and that you have a drive-up that comes in through your facility, your entrance, and then runs more horizontal with the building and then makes a wider turn.
Now, in the preliminary staff meetings and our specific comment was to have the entrance of the drive-through further away from this area right here. Originally, we had, similar to almost exactly what you said, they asked us to keep the entrance of the drive-through as furthest possible away from this northeast corner. They felt that the separation of the drive-through traffic and the entrance of that northern entrance, separating would improve the traffic circulation. Putting them too close, they thought it would be a conflict.
Then maybe you obviously considered in your planning to go to the furthest part possible.
To move the entrance even further to the west than what it is now? I think
You might have lost a parking space in doing that, but, you know, maybe there's a little bit more continuity there. Those 2 parking spaces are a little bit odd. Okay, that's a comment.
okay.
As you exit from this drive-up, that's a tough one too, because, you know, you're trying to direct people out of the drive-up to exit the site to the east. And people are going to do what people do. You know, you can't, you can kind of train them, but it seems like that particular exit is a bigger quandary than the entrance.
Okay.
I don't know what you're going to end up doing with that, but how you get that to tie into or be directed towards that exit is going to be a trick.
Yeah, in working with the trustees, we try to do 3 things: is the curbing, the signage, and the directional pavement striping, and slowing them down with the stop sign to force the true citizen to obey the rules.
Yeah.
I think it's a difficult thing with all traffic signals. Everybody speeds, people blow lights.
Well,
It's
this is a captive audience. These are people who, one, have either eaten, are going to eat, or are going through the drive-up, all emerging on that one central area at the same time, because they're parking along. If it's a successful restaurant, and Panera really is, the people parking along the south property line, all along there, yeah, they're walking across there. The people who are coming out of the restaurant who have parked over there, or even have parked to the southeast in that area behind the new landscape island. And then you have people coming out of the drive-up. And if this is a successful restaurant, then there's a lot of cars coming out of that drive-up.
What I try to do is I definitely look at pedestrians. Obviously, some pedestrians do have to walk through the drive aisle, but our main point, and I specifically opened up this pedestrian path to attempt to capture much of the southern pedestrian traffic to have them a safe route. And I'm hopeful that the eastern parking does the same and crosses close to the crosswalk designated for them. I think that's some of the reason as an engineer is I try to put the crosswalks to hopefully direct the pedestrians to the safest path where they're not a liability, definitely to us or to them.
Yeah, and giving the driver of the vehicle enough opportunity to make a good decision.
Correct. So hopefully slow them down, let them look around, and follow the directional signage. That is the goal. And I understand that each individuals are you know, you cannot control everybody, but
Well, we have other conditions like this in the village. I mean, the primary example is really over at Portillo's, where there's just a massive amount of people crosswalking
Very similar
right
to
where,
this, yeah.
right where the exit of the drive-up is. You know, as dysfunctional as it may appear in theory, it works.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, people aren't running into, or cars aren't running into people, at least that we know of.
Yeah, there's even more parking, I think, on the south side of Portillo's, and you're exactly right. And the volume they put through their drive-through, I'm surprised nobody's gotten.
I don't know if there's a necessarily another option for these folks on this particular site, because they're bound to hit that parking number. They have to reach that. It's a quandary here with the drive up and the parking.
And I guess with the drive up, if you're going to keep the configuration the way it is, I mean, you can take my suggestion for whatever. But I'm looking at those rapid pickup signs, and you've got those kind of looped around on the other side of the drive-through.
Yep.
Maybe you'd be better off putting them in those 3 spaces just next to the handicap area.
Take a left.
Okay.
Take a left there.
But but I'm saying they're going to come through here, they're going to park here, go pick up their food, and then they're going to go out in that same direction that you want everybody to go. So that might help your flow of getting people to go that direction. The other thing is,
I can see that.
And then the other thing is, if you are going to have staging like McDonald's does, or whoever, if you get backed up, instead of looping them all the way around in those spots, maybe you shove them up farther, I guess that would be east, in those southeast spots over there.
Which ones?
In here?
Down in that area. Well, not quite yet. Somewhere in that area.
Yeah, somewhere in here.
Somewhere in there, making those.
So they don't do the U-turn
Right.
all the way around.
You start doing the U-turn thing like that, that's just going to be, you're going to bottleneck everything up right there.
Personally, I like this one here, or either or.
Because you're going to have the same problem with the rapid pickup. People are going to come in and then they're going to want to get out of there real fast.
Yeah.
And also, that cuts down on some of the pedestrian traffic that's going to be just dashing back and forth. Instead, they'll just come across here
And they'll force them through that
and then
crosswalk.
force them through that crosswalk and make everybody go in that direction.
That's,
2 cents.
appreciate it.
I think we owe Commissioner Morris a second
Correct.
response to his questions,
Yep.
if it hasn't been answered yet.
Some of the issues was the patio and the location of the patio, and we went through this in the committee of the whole meeting as well. Panera with their servers, they had a look at our site plan and provided their input. Their desired location was to put it at the front of the house. In addition, when we were investigating putting the patio in alternate locations while obviously maximizing the parking, we all know that controls the site layout. It starts getting, we didn't know where to put it, so the original tilted kilt was in our berm area, so we didn't want to have them come out of the back of the house, which Panera didn't want, and also it will eliminate our natural screening, which is attractive versus a wall or a fence.
Then we should address the north
Yep.
and the east access.
The north access originally proposed, it was to leave the full access alone. In working with staff, and I actually drove it myself too, they were concerned about making the left-hand movement out of the northern entrance towards Milwaukee Avenue. Oops, I could use this one too. So they were concerned about this movement here as they did some, I guess, some studies to show the long queuing traffic of the traffic coming in, and they just felt that it was a hard movement to make that left-hand movement. So in working with staff, we adhered to their suggestions and limited that left-hand movement with the no left turn, the stop sign, and again, the pavement marking, as well as the right turn only sign. We try to do all we can do to attempt to make the drivers listen to the rules.
Today, is that a right or left turn?
Today, it is a right or left.
Is it
full
located
access.
in the same spot?
Exact same spot. The only thing that we're changing is to limit the left-hand movement. Personally, for us, we would like to keep it full access, but we were just trying to protect any concerns of traffic movement with that left-hand movement.
Were there, and I guess I'd ask the village, were there any issues with the left-hand turns when this was Max and Irma's or Tilted Kilt?
Not that we were aware of. However, through my own personal observations, I mean, a left-hand turn from the northern intersection doesn't, to me, suit itself for the traffic pattern based off of the light. And you also have, there's a more controlled access by going to the eastern entrance way to make a left, because you have a controlled intersection to the north that you can also make a left, and that would seem to me a safer alternative, which is why we push for a right in, right out.
I do understand that, and I think you're going to see people turning left or they're going to make U-turns at the light. I mean, that's just a thought. Oh, there's no light. I'm sorry. At the stop sign. Yeah. There's they're going to make U-turns, and that's going to confuse even more people. I don't know. My thought is leave it as a full intersection, but if you know.
I agree with that.
Okay, anybody else? Scott?
Yeah, the delivery point, that sidewalk that goes up, you know, what are they bringing in, and what size of containers?
The main thing that was described to me was the bread carts.
Carts at the grocery stores.
I've seen them in the Paneras in the back, and they're basically, I guess their main business is bread, so they're always supplying the daily fresh bread. That's their main deliveries, besides the standard deliveries of a restaurant.
Yeah, as far as the distance is concerned, you know, if they're all right with that, then that's up to them. But maybe one thing that you could do for them is not give them a right turn necessarily, or a left turn there, where it hits the drive.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something a little bit more graceful, so that it's like a single run up to it.
We were looking at that, and then some of the, I guess if I look at the landscape plan, we wanted, you know, working with.
Transformer, you want to screen the transformer?
We want to screen the transformer. It was required to screen the trash enclosure, as well as there's some existing trees that's not shown on the survey, but that are existing out there that were not on our property that we were allowed to touch. So what we're trying to do is build in to the existing landscape in that area.
Could we round that 90 degree? Could we round that off?
We can round it. We still
keeping the
have
screening?
freedom to move the transformer. Nothing is locked in stone for us. So
If you can move the transformer a little bit to the west, then I think you have a real good opportunity to make it a more of a graceful sidewalk
okay.
for them to deliver their product.
Yeah, everybody likes a straight
The building,
shot.
yes, you know, more of a straight shot to the.
The vast majority of the product that's delivered here is from Panera, though, right? On their short semi-trucks that will go in the
Correct.
front.
Bread trucks.
Yeah, and I don't think it would be helpful if we knew how many deliveries. I don't think they get very many from vendors other than the Panera delivery.
What I was told was definitely the main source of delivery is the bread. That's
Right.
the focal
Which
point,
is-
the bread
yeah,
trucks.
yeah.
And they're delivering the dough that needs to be baked.
How does the north user get
before
deliveries?
sale.
Correct. Excuse me, Hal?
How does the north user get deliveries?
There is a path, again, through the rear. There is a continuous sidewalk that runs
I
through.
can address that a little better.
Okay.
American Mattress stocks their store day one, and you know, when they make a sale, they deliver it from an external warehouse. So their actual deliveries are through the front door when they open, and when they change product once every few months.
Are they
So-
buying this or leasing it
Leasing.
for a substantial amount of time, so there won't be a new user there?
Yes, we are at a 10-year lease with both of these tenants.
So in year 11, when they decide that they want to build their own store and somebody else goes there, where does that user get deliveries? Because we're creating something that's not just for them, it's a building.
Understood.
So where-
We have we do have a sidewalk path in the rear of the building. that is connected to that, again, that southern parking lot. It just runs through the rear, crosses the drive-through, and it's ADA compliant, full width for a wheelchair or a delivery cart of some sort to get into the back of the house of the American Mattress or whatever user comes there in the future.
And that's on the outside of your wall, your half wall?
Correct.
Yeah.
That is on the outside of the wall. It's a little hard to see, but you could kind of see the hatch pattern of the sidewalk.
Okay. Anybody else?
How are you
Gary?
going to handle snow removal? Because usually they, you know, put it somewhere within the parking lot or within the greenery.
This is a part of the overall shopping center. That's a common area maintenance that we pay to the overall shopping center. So they'll use standard, I hate to be general here, but they'll use standard practices that has not created an issue in the past for this lot. You know, they can remove this snow off of this site onto the further western, the west side of the large parking lots inside of there. So they can take it off-site here.
Okay. And my next question, which is totally unrelated to anything we've discussed, with your signage, is the illumination both halo and face lit, or is it just halo lit?
I'm not sure if anybody over there.
Lucian, or are you?
That particular question, I don't have the answer for you, but
The signage package.
I don't have my signage package on the screen, but it should be depicted in that signage package.
Well, that's why I asked the question. I know it's definitely halo lit channel letters, and then it said something about push-through letter centers, and I interpreted that as possibly face lit. And Joe, I don't know if the village allows, you know, two sources of illumination within.
Push-through letters are really internally lit signs
Yeah, yeah.
that are illuminating the letter itself from the inside of the sign.
So it's face lit.
It's not, I don't know what facelit means.
We have approved, or we did review the photometrics, and we had no concerns with the lighting source or how it was being illuminated.
And we will conform to any specific code requirements to the signage. We're not asking for a variance of that.
What is your preview board versus your menu board?
Let's see here. It's on the signage package you have, but here shows the preview board. So the preview board shows basically a preview of the menu and
Soups of the day, specials of the day, coffee of the day.
So that's going to be a changeable sign?
I believe so,
I believe
yes.
so. It should.
And it's used also to speed the process up through the drive-through.
get everybody ready to order. So when they hit the canopy or the ordering
They're not
board,
asking what the special of the day is, what
Right.
soup is served on what day and stuff like that.
it does reiterate the same menu. Obviously, if they forget what they saw in the preview menu, but it is done out of strategy to speed the
And
traffic
is the
up.
menu board your entire menu, or is it just a snapshot of some high-volume things?
I believe the menu board is the full menu.
I believe it's a full menu. We haven't seen the full menu on the board, just the panels for it, but we believe it's the full menu.
For the
So
drive-through.
you could get people ordering more than just a coffee and a bagel, or
Yes.
they could order a
Yes.
full meal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, could you tell me, on the Panera fascia, that fascia material, you described it as a tile.
Mm-hmm.
How big are those tiles?
Actually, I have a sample at my desk that they gave me.
Well, I can't see the size of the tile.
The size, thank you, Lucian, thank you.
Okay, and it's going to be run,
Because nobody could hear that
Yeah.
at home.
How big is it? No, just,
6 inches by 36 inches.
okay.
And
Thanks.
how is that, that attached on there?
They said it's, do you know the installation message, Lucian?
Hi, that's attached just like a ceramic tile. It's almost identical to a ceramic tile.
So is it going to have grout joints horizontally and vertically?
We're buttoning them right up against each
So
other.
they're going to be really tight?
Correct.
So it's meant to look fairly monolithic?
There's different textures and colors within each tile, so it's to give a rustic wood look to
Okay.
it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you have two different awning fabrics. One of them was the Panera awning, and the other one was the awning for the American Mattress Building, I believe.
Correct.
And they don't seem to really work as far, I mean, you have three different color beige greens, and I was wondering if there is an awning fabric that is closer to the darker color in the Panera to make it more cohesive, look like one building, like a uniform,
I think
but more of an olive green.
They have several fabrics out there. This was Panera's color, and we kind of,
I'm speaking of the American Mattress.
right. So we were trying to match Panera's color. When we had the samples, they looked pretty complementary of each other, so that's why we selected the green with their
Okay.
color.
Because it seemed like that's more of a brighter green than the olive green that is the green, the darker of the two Panera colors. So that, I mean, is that,
The American Mattress, we could change to match closer if you'd like.
that's, I would prefer that.
we're open to that to make a
Okay.
more aesthetic looking overall building.
Yes, thank you.
I had one comment on the, as you're leaving the drive up, there's a very small island there.
Correct.
And in my framework of thinking, I think that is there to help protect the pedestrian
Correct. Correct.
from walking in there.
Also the backing out.
And also the backing out, correct. It's for protection. Originally, there was a hydrant in that island, which, as a conservative engineer, I was trying to protect, but we ended up relocating that hydrant because to have a more of a setback for any kind of overhang traffic into that larger island across from that small island.
Did you ever consider, first of all, it's a very difficult thing to landscape. It's going to be more like it's going to be hardscape.
Correct.
What kind of hardscaping were you considering?
For that small, skinny island.
The small skinny island that's there, there's no hardscape in there, but there's just perennials in there, so we have daylilies down through that island there.
First of all, I'd just like to suggest that turn into either a hardscape material or possibly a knee wall. And the reason I suggest that is it is more of a protective barrier. A curb, it really doesn't protect the pedestrian. It does a little bit, but a knee wall might be better in that area.
Okay, we can entertain anything to protect the safety. Is that-
Something of material that matches the building in that side.
Okay. And that skinny island was specifically for, as you said, the pedestrian safety and to
Right.
help direct that traffic towards that eastern driveway.
Sure.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so first notices were sent out. Joe,
Correct.
did we receive any comments from anybody?
We did not.
Okay. It's also a public hearing, so therefore, if anyone else who hasn't spoken wants to speak, this would be your opportunity to do so. Okay, seeing no great rush to the podium for purposes of the public hearing, we can close it. What we have on this commission is a standing motion to recommend approval that the commission then votes on, either accept or not accept it. Here you're asking first for approval of a special use permit to allow development of a multi-tenant building, which will include a restaurant with drive-through along with variations to allow side yard setback of 26.2 feet on the west, to not require any off-street loading based on the building size, but one off-street loading space is otherwise required, and to allow one multi-tenant monument sign to display 2 tenants, and that's on the entrance magazine, I believe. There are a number of conditions of approval, including the proposed site plan, engineering improvement plans, signage, landscape, photometric, and architectural plans, as well as 4 additional conditions, which is final approval by the village engineer and landscape architect prior to building permit issuance, no outdoor sales or dining without prior approval of the Board of Trustees, parking lot islands, median entrance magazines, and adjacent parkways, grass areas of the magazine shall be irrigated, and compliance with all their ordinances. In addition, we note that you've provided to the village proposed section 18.3 findings regarding the special use, which are made part of this evening's record as well. So we have a motion then to recommend approval according to those conditions, and we need a second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, then
We can do the whole thing at once, right?
what do you mean?
No,
I
we did
do want to
one.
make one comment. I thought
That's the
the
first
architecture was nice. I think it's very interesting for this size of building. I think it offers identity for the tenants and identity for future tenants to the north if the first tenant doesn't necessarily fly. So Panera's a successful company, and they're going to do well here. I'm wondering about, Panera really opens early, very early in the morning for coffee and pastries and whatnot. So it says to me that their deliveries are going to be like 3:30 in the morning, 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, because that's got to be when they start working in this place. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, 3:30. I know when the bread gets delivered, they bake the bread there, and they do. I mean, they've got
Right.
a lot of. You see their commercials.
They've got a
on
lot of
TV.
work, right,
You know,
they've
they're
got a
coming
lot
in
of
at
work
3
to do
o'clock and
before the
steaming
first
bread.
person walks through the front door. So that's why I don't have a big issue with big trucks and vehicles driving through the site and backing into that loading zone area. I really think you need to make that a good travel path for them to deliver their product to the back door.
I agree with Commissioner Hesner. I like the architecture on it, and I would be in favor of this special use permit, but for the condition of approval being this particular proposed site plan, which I think has some other inherent difficulties. Okay, so if there's no other comments, we need a roll call.
Commissioner Blue,
Yes.
Commissioner Cotton,
No.
Commissioner Hesner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcrone, Commissioner Gorog,
Yes.
Chairman Morris.
No. Okay, second, we have a motion to recommend approval to allow 2 wall signs on the western elevation of the building face, which has no frontage on a public or private street, measuring 55.4 square feet on the north and 60.9 square feet on the south side, subject to the other conditions we've already discussed. Need a second for that?
Second.
Any discussion?
The only issue I have with that, I don't care for the 3 signs on the American Mattress building. I think they should, especially if they're putting one, they'll have a 4th sign on the median. So I don't think they need that north sign at all. I think American Mattress is a destination site. Somebody's not going to drive by, oh, I need a mattress today, and drive in. So I don't think they have, I think they're oversigning that building. So for that reason, I can't allow the one on the Milwaukee Avenue side, even though I think that's a good idea.
Just for information purposes, item number 1 for the special use included the multi-tenant monument sign. Item 2 is for the 2 wall signs on the western elevation.
Right.
Right, you just can't do them together, is what you're saying.
Right,
Right.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make
Okay.
sure.
All right, okay. We need a roll call then, if no other comments?
Yep.
Okay.
Commissioner Blue,
Yes.
Commissioner Cotton,
Yes.
Commissioner Hesner,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidner,
No.
Commissioner Mulcrone, Commissioner Gorog,
Yes.
Chairman Morris.
Yes. Okay, next we have a motion to recommend a preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations pursuant to the conditions we discussed. We need a second for that.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that?
I think they've done a good job on the building. I really like it. I
Looks
like
great.
what they did on
Thank
the
you.
landscaping on Milwaukee Avenue. I think it looks great. And it does a good job of concealing the drive-through.
Okay. Taking your roll call?
Commissioner Blue?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hesder?
Yes.
Commissioner Heidner?
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcrone? Commissioner Gorog?
Yes.
Chairman Morris?
Yes. Okay. Last, we have a motion to recommend preliminary and final site and landscape plan approvals, subject to the conditions we discussed earlier, and we need a second for that.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. And then we need a roll call.
Commissioner Blue?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hesder?
Yes.
Commissioner Heidner?
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcrone? Commissioner Gorog?
Yes.
Chairman Morris?
No. Okay. I think that's all we have. Anything else we missed? Nope. Okay. And this goes to the village board.
This will go before the village board under a committee of the whole on August 5th.
Okay.
The first Tuesday in August, which is, yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. It looks like we have no development review. Anything else we need to talk about?
Just a couple different items related to development review. Jason's Deli will appear before the Planning and Zoning Commission on August 6th. That is to allow it's a special use to allow a right in, right out. It's amending a previously approved special use. And because of that, it will also include a revised site plan and revised landscape plan. The existing special use allows a right in from Milwaukee Avenue. This would allow the right out into the deceleration lane that's currently at that property.
Okay.
So you're saying they currently have the right to put a right in?
Correct. Another item that will be coming before the commission is medical marijuana. This would be creating an overlay district to allow cultivation centers and dispensaries. These, because of the way the state approved medical marijuana in entire state, we can't strictly prohibit it being within the village, and so we had to work within our current zoning regulations. There right now is a moratorium on any coming into the village up until December, I believe. But at some point, we need to have that conversation and need a pass, some type of zoning ordinance to allow a special use for both of them based off of the requirements. I can tell you the cultivation center, both from my time in Elk Grove, where I've sat down and had meetings with them, where they want 200,000 square foot buildings that are close to major water lines, close to major transmission lines to make sure they have adequate electricity, as well as making sure that it's not in a very heavily trafficked area that attracts attention. They're very, very, very unlikely to come to Vernon Hills. The dispensaries, however, is a different situation, and that is one that we'll have to take a close look at. And then just one other item, and that is related to Menards. As I kind of indicated to some of you, the village board did approve the ordinance last night, approving Menards development. They did make one additional condition of approval, and that was to change the front entranceway from the green that was approved here to the tan ephes. So I just want to let you all know that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Then we have a motion to adjourn. We need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And we're adjourned. Good night.